Is your new build about to become 25% more expensive? While most of the country is staring at their petrol receipts, a much bigger crisis could be brewing behind the scenes in the construction sector. We're talking about a potential 30% to 50% spike in material costs that could have a major impact on the industry. I'm Debbie Roberts, owner and financial advisor at Property Apprentice. Today we're going beyond the headlines. I'm answering the questions you've been flooding our comments with. Should I cancel my build? Are fixed price contracts actually safe? And is existing property now the only safe bet? Let's break down the latest info and what it means for your wallet. To really understand why these numbers are moving so much, we have to look under the hood of how things are actually made. It's easy to blame inflation, but what we're seeing right now is a fundamental shift in the cost of energy, the very thing that powers the construction world. So let's have a look at some of the facts. Professor John Tukey from AUT has called this an epoch-making moment. Construction is uniquely vulnerable because it's energy intensive from start to finish. It's not just the trucks, it's the kilns firing your bricks and the smelters processing your aluminium. With Middle Eastern oil production down by 22%, the energy required to make a single window frame or a pallet of bricks has surged. This isn't a temporary blip. This could be a systemic reset of the cost to build in New Zealand. What you want to know? The macro level stats are enough to make anyone want to hide under the duvet, but for those of you with skin in the game, builders, first home buyers and investors, the concerns are much more immediate. We've been sifting through your emails and comments to find the questions that are keeping you up at night. We've received questions from both our subscribers and Property Apprentice clients, so we thought it'd be good to provide some clarity around some of the common issues. But as always, please note this does not constitute personalised financial advice. Question 1. I'm halfway through a build. Can my builder suddenly charge me more? This seems to be one of the most common questions right now. The answer lies in your escalation clause. If your contract allows for cost fluctuations, you might be on the hook for those May-June price hikes. So check your contract and then get on the phone with your builder. Ask them what materials they've already secured and what's still floating in the supply chain. Communication's your best hedge against a $50,000 surprise. Second question, does this mean we'll see another jib crisis style shortage? It's less about a shortage and more about a price out. We've got stocks of chemicals and timber for now, but as Julian Lee's noted, the cost of importing from China is up 22%. We might have the materials, but will you want to pay the price? We're seeing importers getting squeezed. They're paying 90 cents to make $1. That's not sustainable, and it usually leads to smaller suppliers exiting the market. Watch your subcontractors closely. Question 3, if building costs go up, doesn't that mean my existing house value will skyrocket? In theory, yes. When the replacement cost of a home rises, it creates a floor for the market. However, we've got a wild card, and that is interest rates. As Kelvin Davidson pointed out, it's a tough environment for builders to pass on those costs because the wider market is already subdued. If building becomes too expensive, activity stops. That doesn't always mean existing prices surge. It can mean the whole market just freezes while everyone waits for a bit more certainty. I know that all sounds quite heavy, and it's easy to get spooked when you see figures like 30% or 50% being thrown around. But if there's one thing I've learned about the property market, it's that there's always another perspective we need to consider that the doom and gloom headlines often miss. It's not all doom and gloom. Kelvin Davidson makes a great point. Materials are only 50% of the build cost. The other half is wages. Unlike the post-COVID era, we don't have a labour shortage right now. We've got a softening economy. Lower wage inflation acts as a natural brake. While the materials in your house might go up 25%, your total build cost might only rise 10 to 12%. In a market where vendors are already being realistic, that 10% might be something you can negotiate away elsewhere. So we've looked at the global crisis, we've answered your burning questions for this week, and we've found a potential silver lining. Now's the time to move from theory into action. This is the part of the show where we talk about the what now, your survival guide for navigating 2026. the 5% buffer is dead. If you're planning a build in 2026, a 5% contingency is unlikely to be enough. You should be looking at 15 to 20% to account for the May-June energy surcharges. Existing versus new. Right now, the value gap is closing. Existing homes built before 2024 are looking like an absolute bargain because their energy cost was locked in at 2021 prices. If you're risk averse, stay with existing stock. In a margin squeeze, the first thing to go is the builder's cash flow. So check that you're dealing with a well-established developer with a solid long-term reputation in the industry. And on a side note, just one more point about existing versus new. Remember that as far as banks are concerned, a new build is only considered to be a new build with the exclusion from the LVR and DTI rules if the CCC has been issued within 6 months from settlement date. So make sure you check that date out properly. The construction landscape is changing, but the goal remains the same, building long-term wealth. Don't ignore this issue, but don't let it paralyze you either. Manage your risk instead. At the end of the day, we need new developments to house our growing population. And many economists believe that even with the recent building boom, we simply aren't building enough properties to keep up with future demand. I want to hear from you in the comments. Are you currently mid-build? Have you received a price increase letter from your tradies? Let's get a discussion going. Your experience will help the whole community. If you found this bonus episode helpful, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. We're putting out these updates as the data breaks to keep you ahead of the curve. And if you're ready to learn how to pivot your strategy in a high-cost environment, join me at one of our next free online training sessions. We'll be doing a live Q&A to help you navigate your specific situation. Just remember, it won't be able to be individual financial advice in those sessions. Secure your spot at propertyapprentice.co.nz. Keep informed, stay strategic, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Hey there, want to stay on top of the latest property news and trends? Subscribe to the Property Apprentice podcast for weekly updates that will help you to navigate the market like a pro. We cover everything from insider tips to expert interviews, so you'll always be in the know. And don't forget to ring the bell and hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube channel for even more helpful content to boost your property journey. Check out the link in the description to subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Happy investing.